We have covered so far the zeroth law of thermodynamics that introduced the concept of temperature. And then we introduced the first law of thermodynamics that introduced the concept of energy. The first law of thermodynamics is a very useful tool, and we used it to, for example, determine what's the heat or the work involved in a process. At this stage, we have to ask ourselves an important question, which is what I'm doing here in front of you right now, that you can translate as why there is a need for a second law of thermodynamics, or why haven't we stopped after the first law of thermodynamics and took the rest of the semester off. So the objective here now is to understand why there is a need for a second law of thermodynamics. We will go into the details, but before we start, I would like to give you some applications or some illustrations of the second law of thermodynamics. I have a cup of tea here, and I can measure the cup of tea with my thermometer. So if I measure the temperature of my cup of tea, the temperature is 50 degrees C. Now we can wait 5 minutes. Now after 5 minutes, I can measure again the temperature of my cup of tea. The initial temperature was 50 degrees C, and now it's 80 degrees C. At this stage, something must happen in your brain, because you'll be saying, you know what, how come he started with a cup of tea at 50 degrees C, and now he's having a cup of tea at 80 degrees C, which is technically impossible if my cup of tea didn't interact with any other source of energy, for example, heat. So this means that in our universe, things can cool down. We are not surprised when the cup of tea cools down, but we are surprised when the cup of tea heats up. This shows that there is an asymmetry in our universe. Some processes can happen, even spontaneously, when we talk about this cup of tea cooling down, while other processes don't happen spontaneously. Okay? If I want to increase the temperature of my cup of tea, what I have to do, I have to provide energy. There is a price to pay for this to happen. I never heard my mother calling me, "Lias, come home, your meal will heat up." It's always cooled down, okay? Other manifestations of the second law of thermodynamics, we usually find them in cartoons. Actually, what makes us laugh in cartoons are usually violations of the laws of physics. For example, in real life, you are not expecting to see this, or even this, because those are processes that with a very low probability. And this is another way of looking at the second law of thermodynamics.